not recording. There it goes. Okay, so we were just saying, you had just said, oh my God, our last session was a big one. And I had said to you, well, yeah, it kind of gets that way in the beginning. You and I are talking twice a week. You know, this is why I love this 20 session commitment thing, because when I only had 10 sessions to work with people, I think they felt a little like stressed around the time frame. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Like knowing that you have all those sessions, it's like, let's just go in right now. Let's just get in here. Let's get these sessions in. And because we can kind of rev it up, you and I are each session right now. Don't you agree? Each one kind of, the next one follows and you're in a space of mind where we can keep on doing it. Whereas if you and I didn't talk for a week at a time, don't you agree that would have you would have maybe gone backwards a little bit, and then we got to try to work to get you forward a bit. So, yeah, I'm kind of experimenting with this.
And it could be my cycle timing as well, but I did feel the emotional eating this week a bit with the whole dad thing. So,
oh, yeah.
That was just sore.
So each session's really freaking big, and so yeah, I'm toying with how I'm approaching this commitment with people, you know, like the 20 sessions versus the 10. And I'm finding that the ability to meet really more often than the beginning has really improved with everybody that has signed up so far. So
yeah, because I'd say it's sort of like an organic process to where after you kind of digest a little bit, more stuff comes up. So that you're definitely ready for that next session.
Oh, yeah. I had another client who found the same thing, and she didn't even want to wait. She didn't want to wait another day. She was like, can you talk today? I was like, oh, yeah. You got it. Because having that, it just helps, especially if you can feel you're opening things up and you don't want to regress and you don't want to repress it. But it's kind of like, I don't want to be confused either. So maybe getting that insight helps me stay away from the confusion.
Right.
Because once you're there, once you're in that space of facing things head on, can you see that it's gratifying? It's gratifying because you're ending the suffering that you've just lived with. So it's like, just tell the truth, and you face it, and it's almost like, it unravels with your own willfulness to face these issues. And as you face the issues and you get relief, it's like, let's do it again. Keep on doing it. Anyways.
Yeah, I can definitely see. I even had a couple other things that were popping up that I was like, yep, these are what's next.
Right. Oh, no wonder I was hiding from it. No wonder I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, one of the things that I did put a foot down about, and this one we totally hadn't really discussed yet, but I do think it has to do with a bit of a triangle, was my husband's son, who was 8 when we met, and very reluctant. But his mother had abandoned him, and there was a whole sob story there.
Sure.
Anyway, I sort of course, get sucked into trying to help or something.
Well, the fact that you call it she abandoned him, that's a sign of persecutor victim positionality right there.
Yeah, and she did, like, literally when he was 2, she was gone for a couple years.
Yeah, but that doesn't, so your view of it is different than her reasoning around it, right?
Yeah.
I know, it's hard, it's, what I'm telling you to do is, it's like the only way to go into being okay with it is to go, she probably wasn't in a space to actually take care of the child at 2, and she probably should have left.
Right.
Makes sense?
And what was interesting is that whole thing, it was a bit of an extra thing, but what ended up happening was my husband feeling really guilty really created a massive sense of entitlement in his son, to the point of really being like narcissistic abuse towards his father, which was a big problem.
Got it. Well, that's the victim position, though. That's what happens when someone feels victimized. Poor me, my life is terrible, I have been gypped, and they identify by it, because then they actually do want to seek someone to blame. They get secret gratification from they did me wrong. It gives them some sense of like that entitlement, the part that's easy for everybody to judge. What they don't realize is that right there is self-defense. It gives them a sense of security to blame someone else.
Right.
You and I would do the same thing under that circumstance and that way of thinking about it.
Yeah, and they I watched them through the years push her away actively. So she did try, and so, but
yeah.
Part of what kind of one of the compromises I made recently was that I'm not interested in living under the same roof, because as he's getting older, it's just more, and it's not my responsibility. And especially my mother-in-law's expectations or hopes that I would have done this.
Oh, hold on. You're talking about your father-in-law, the mother-in-law?
No, this is my husband's mother now.
Got it. I see.
I left a couple months ago to try to figure out what we can do differently. And part of it is we're not going to have everybody under the same roof. And his son is a teenager now, and he's fine. Like, his mother and him is he stays over there. And anyway,
that's good.
They don't absolutely need me, right? So I was like, you know what, it's not healthy for me. I don't like it. So,
and you're not his mom. You're not his mother.
Yeah.
You're someone who loves and cares for him, but you'll never be his mother. You'll never be that important.
Yeah.
Did that hurt for me to say that, or were you cool with it?
No, actually, yeah. I think his family, just because they all bought into the whole sob story, of course.
I gotta get another pen. I'm sorry, pause. My pen is just horrible. Just give me like 1 minute to get another pen. Okay. I'm sorry. I want to take good notes. I want to take notes, and I'm trying, and it's like nothing's happening. And okay, so anyway, so his husband's son, you're trying to figure out.
Well, I've come to peace with the fact that I'm moving into a home environment where I'm going to be more protective of, I guess, the atmosphere of being a positive, loving space. Is where I found that his son, not of no fault of his own, I understand that he's just a product of the really shitty environment that he got handed. But
well, and his way of dealing with it and handling with it. And if he's feeling victimized, that means there is the codependent victim persecutor. He needs counseling. And if you participate in terms of like having to do what he needs to make sure he feels better, it becomes extremely toxic. Right.
Yeah, and my husband even said he would bring him to counseling. I mentioned that he really should, so.
And to study the Karpman's drama triangle would be really helpful for him to recognize what's happening. People in that drama triangle, it's hard to know and understand why it's so contentious, why it's so strained when you're inside of it, why you're so dependent, right? That whole drama triangle is full of codependency, beyond dependency, right? To where you become, you're walking on eggshells, and he's constantly agitated, thinking that you all suck. Not realizing, it comes from his own fantasies. It stems from his own fantasies about what his life should be like, or what it's supposed to be. A lot of the clients I work with are that. You came from that. You're just like him, but you're on the other. You're on the side where you're the one that's not meeting the fantasy. Therefore, you're the one who's causing his sense of survival mode. He thinks you're in this and that and this. You're all part of it, and he becomes resentful and angry and bitter and short-tempered, and add to that testosterone, and
Yeah, once the testosterone started, and it was like, it's not going to be good. I'm not like.
Oh yeah, and you don't know what's going on at school, and
really, like, I don't know if he even holds so much to me, because I don't think he ever really attached to me as a mother figure whatsoever.
He might not have.
I mean, I guess he probably did a little bit, but he holds his dad like
as a child. Yeah, and and he might have felt, who knows, because as a child, this is the other thing about working with children, is they create all sorts of scenarios in their head, and they have no context or they have no comparison to give them a sense of it's irrational, it's not true. So again, a lot of the people I work with have childhood thoughts and beliefs that they've never questioned as adults, and wonder why they're suffering, because their viewpoint is so childish. And that's how they treat the world. That's how they think of themselves. They are adults. They have intelligence. They're smart. They can have a PhD, but they're emotionally so fucking juvenile because of that. And they don't even know. It's like you could say, well, you have a choice. Well, it's kind of hard to have a choice when you're blind to your own story.
Right.
You don't think it's a story. You think it's truth, because it came from the viewpoint of a child who didn't have any relative context around the situation. So codependency, that would be a really good thing for your husband and his son to get co-counseling for. And there's a lot of great counselors out there who focus on codependency. Okay. Yeah. So write that down. That would be a good thing to suggest and to promote in their relationship early now.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Good for you. That's a big, huge epiphany for you to feel good about. Do you feel good about it?
I do. I definitely, it's that whole concept of death and acceptance, and just being like, his family can think I'm shitty for not wanting to save the day. And I actually tried for however long I did, but anyway, that was, and if I only see them, not that even matters, but, so I don't care. Like, whatever they think about me, they're just gonna.
Well, unless there's it's not a lack of care and love for someone. It's just not participating. So oftentimes you have to go it's called gray rock, I guess, where it's not total abandonment. In a way, it is abandonment, but you're abandoning the toxic relationship. So you just basically retreat from you're not going to be a rescue anymore, and it's not, and you're going to be told it's a lack of love, when in reality it's not. It's just keeping yourself safe from arrows, and you don't want the shields anymore, right? Isn't that what we're trying to get rid of? The shields, the weapons, the self-defense. And you've got to go into this relationship giving them love and grace, not criticizing it, not putting them down, having compassion for where they're at, because you can understand it from your own experience of that, and let them grow up and don't participate. And they can call you what they want to call you and make stories up about the reason why you're doing it, because they might not understand anything other than codependency. Persecutor, rescuer, victim, right? And eventually they'll stop attacking you because you're not participating. Yeah. And then at that point, depending on where they're at, you can have a safe relationship because you're not a reliable source to be a rescuer.
Right. Yeah, because I do feel compassion and all, but I do recognize that need for that safe space, which I protect for me and the kids, my children. So.
Yeah, you need to find a way to function. Yeah, a way to function that's loving with that relationship, and that isn't punishing. Like, you did this, so we're doing that. Yeah. You're this way, so it's not that. You have to find a way to communicate it in a way that is loving, nurturing, but not codependent. You'll figure that out. That you have to sit with it and really consider the language and how you talk about it. And
and I understand it from the position of a young person, because I feel like I went through that. So I think that's where I kind of got sucked into the triangle, because I was
rescuing
with his I was
As a co-victim.
Seeing his situation, right, and it was uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, that co-victim role,
Yeah.
right? That's where the rescuer is a co-victim oftentimes. Oh, I was abandoned too, and my parents were horrible people too. And then there's this concept of, and I'm better, so I can help you, even though you're not, because you're clearly holding on to the victim story.
Right.
And you don't see it. And then you get sucked in, and the rescuer is so quickly made into the persecutor, especially if you don't rescue the way they need you to. Again, this is so animal brain functioning, in survival mode. You could say this poor kid has been in survival mode his entire freaking childhood.
Right.
The only way for him to get out at this point is for him to change the way he's perceiving the world, but he's going to have to change his beliefs about what happened. So with that said, no one can do that but him. So getting him coaching, counseling soon.
Yeah, he needs to get some coaching for sure.
Anyhow, so the emotional eating, what do you... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just on a kind of unrelated topic, but it was funny because I was, I had bought some of these. I like doing this vintage 70s, 60s girl collage thing. So anyway, I saw some that were more made for kids today, and I was like, I'm going to pick this up as like an element for my art or whatever. Well, I got really upset because when I actually opened it up and the way that it portrays, like, it was like a Barbie thing, and I was like, oh, these poor girls and the toys and the way that everything looks so sexy. And I don't have girls, so anyway. And then that brought up the whole thing with myself and when I was younger and buying into that. What happened because of buying into that whole concept of looking sexy for other people, for men or whatever.
Wouldn't you agree that idea, right, that the idea that's being sold is kind of that you're lovable, that you're special, that if a man is attracted to you, that you have something to give. Again, it's feeding into that third hierarchy of need for people who don't feel secure within their heart and soul on the inside. It's a very superficial concept of connecting to someone based on your physical attractiveness. So at that time, you could say that was very predominant, what your role is as a woman.
Right.
It's to placate to the needs of the man. And that's what makes you secure in the relationship with a man, right? And that's what gives you a sense of purpose and gives you a feeling of superior. It's a status thing. You'll have higher status the more beautiful you are. It's like and this is still current. It's like a monetary value. Like the more beautiful and sexually attractive you are, the more you'll be attractive to people with money and status because you fit the image of what that is.
Right.
Still here today.
Yeah. And
still here today.
I definitely lived through that, and that was
How old are you?
I'm 38.
That's right. Well, yeah, in the 90s for sure, right? The 90s it was changing, right? It did.
Yeah.
Our generation has changed quite a few things because we're a little bit more like, screw you, I'm not doing it. But
right. Thank goodness.
Well,
but I definitely went through a big relationship that was
based on your body.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, which I didn't realize at the time, but...
Well, no, because you believed that shit, so that's why the person was probably attracted to you, right? Because that's the sad thing about it. It's not men doing it to us. It's a cultural belief system, and and boys are being brainwashed just like we are. That's what I want. That's what we should have. That's what her value is. Never to think, well, hold on a second. When you're seeking a mate, how about their character and what brings them joy, and what about the individual? Why is it about the attraction to each other? Once again, there is some codependency to that. It's not about caring about this individual. It's caring about how this individual serves me, and then if they serve me, I love them. That's not love.
Right.
That's not love at all. That's That's like a sentimental idea based on the fantasy that you think a person will meet. So it's a concept in your head that you think that person fits in line with. I always bring up religion. Religion does the same thing. If this person fits these belief systems, they fit in the concepts that I have in my head. Therefore, I love them. But do you really love the person, or do you love the religion they worship? Which one is it? Because if they're not that religion, what happens to the love for that individual? It goes away. The hardest thing for me in that situation. So if you were to have gained weight, that person would have been like, sorry, bye-bye now, because they're not really connecting to you as a person authentically. They're connecting to the body image. In relation, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's funny because I know my relationship with my current husband started that way. The image thing, and we've broken that down over time because I had stopped going to church, and that was a big thing for him years ago.
Well, don't you agree what that does is it creates
the whole weight thing, or just the idea, that's all just breaking down.
Well, you're breaking down the fake, and you want to get connected at the heart level, which is as total individual people. He's an individual person. He's someone's son. Think of it that way. You're someone's daughter. This is his life. This is his current experience here. And, it's really innocent to want your children, for example, to go into a religion. It's really innocent to believe that that's the right thing to do. You're trying to protect them. That's the idea, right? So it's not like you're aware that by isolating them from reality or judging reality and then creating a sense of superiority in your safety is actually making your children vulnerable in reality, because they won't have discernment or an awareness, and they're now separating themselves from reality and carrying a form of narcissism to support their sense of identity. Holy shit, you're gonna have to rewind that one right there. That was good. That was good. It didn't come from me. I'm just dreaming on into the snare, people. But what happens with this type of, shakeup, I know for my parents, because they were so devout and so, they devoted their entire life, their identity to this religion. And it was actually a very beautiful thing it was very loving. However, the problem is because it created an identity for them, they didn't have any sense of autonomy. All they had was religion, and that's all they promoted. And there was there were individual, well, my parents were kind of unique. We were allowed to be weird. We were allowed to be ourselves, but always in the confines of these boundaries, right? So you can't be different outside that line. Right? Outside that line, we're a weird family of 10 people, which are going to be crazy anyways, and loud and obnoxious, and we had super crazy talent. But when it came to these lines, you can't cross them. You can't drink coffee. You cannot drink coffee. What happens if you drink coffee? I mean, it would create so much cognitive dissonance because that's bad. It's just, you lose sight of reality, right? So when someone like myself married out of the religion, it had to have created a degree of dissonance. I know it did with some of my siblings, because they were like calling and saying, "You've ruined this. You've done something wrong." It was, so what happens in like a marriage where it's based on body image, or it's based on religion, or it's based on status, whatever it is. So whether it's the man isn't making enough money for the woman to be comfortable, or the woman needs to be home, you can't work that role. I mean, think of the different brainwashing concepts that have been integrated. It creates cognitive dissonance because you supposedly love this person. You love this person. I was their child, and I am in effect breaking their identity safety space, going into the abyss, right? And they've always shamed that. They've always degraded it. They've always made it inferior. And all of a sudden their child is in that space that they have previously made inferior. Right. And then all of a sudden there's like, oh my God, what do I do? They have this weird I don't know what to do. I married you because you needed to be in this religion. I married you because you were going to make the money. I married you. And then it comes to, it brings up the superficiality of, do I really love this person? And people find out they don't. They loved the idea. They loved this belief system. And so it can really cause conflict. If one of the family members or the husband or spouse or wife really loves the idea, they didn't love you all along. It was superficial. It was conditional. True love is about loving the individual for who they are and having a commitment to that person and the well-being of that person separate from yours. Does that make sense? So if you really loved your husband, for example, and he needed to leave and he needed to, get out of the marriage, if you really loved him, you would want him to do that for his own life's sake. Not your life's sake, for his own.
Yeah.
You feel the difference. That's very different, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I know.
It sounds like your husband's doing that for you.
Yeah, I think that he's so supportive. And honestly, even though we've broke through many barriers, he's never treated me unkindly or crossed any lines where it wasn't going to work out well. Like we've managed to somewhat gracefully break a lot of crap, but we have more. But so.
Well, what would happen if you were to just be 100% truthfully authentic and real as a person and let yourself just be who you really are? And would he still love you? Would he still love you? So you have to be vulnerable to allow that.
I used to get mad at him because he would tell me, well, I love you no matter what size you are. And I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. You're just saying that because you don't want me to leave you.
Okay, so that was you projecting your shit onto him.
Projecting.
Totally.
And now I'm like, gee, I hope he would love me no matter what size I am.
Well, if he really cares about you.
Because he's actually always told me that, and I got mad at him for saying it. But
that's hilarious. So he can't win. But if he really cares about you as a person, don't you agree? Then he would be, again, devoted to your well-being without his needs being met. Obviously we as families depend on each other. I'm sitting here in my home with the freedom to make my own schedule because my husband has a 9-to-5 job that he goes to every day and sits at a freaking desk, right?
Right.
So I depend on his job to have the freedom to do this. If he didn't do that, oh my God, I'm probably working at Costco. I love Costco. I don't know what it is.
I've never been to Costco.
Oh my God, it's so cool. The people that work there are always happy and hanging. I don't know. It's just, again, it's a fantasy of mine is to work at Costco.
Yeah, I think he honestly does really love me.
Yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds like it, but you have to be, you have to really allow yourself to just be. You have to let yourself, this would be like just jump off the ship, see if you float, just find out. And I had to do that too. It was really, really important in my recovery to just do it and because you want to permanently forever tell the truth. And that's in terms of your being and your truth. I have been and it takes vulnerability to be judged, criticized. My husband's parents do not love me unconditionally.
Right.
They're of that era, the baby boomer generation, where status is everything, who you are is everything. And I think over time, as they've gotten older, things have changed. But my political views, my religious views, they don't like me. So that but I lived that already. I am okay with that. I still love them. I'm okay with that.
And
you know what I'm saying?
I can see how the change that I've made recently may affect how his family feels about me, but I can be okay with that.
Yeah, because you just have to see for what they. One way that I saw it, and I continue to see it, is they're doing what is safe for them, and I'm in a danger zone. It gives them cognitive dissonance, and if they can get beyond their ideologies, they will love me. And they'll actually, that is often what has to happen for people to come out of their brainwashing. It actually occurred with my mother eventually, and my father. My father had to leave the church. They ended up getting living apart for over a year. It took a lot of damage and destruction for it to be released,
Wow.
So anyways, with that said, it takes on the side of the person that's being authentic, the willingness to be shamed, judged, embarrassed, the truth to come out, coming out of the closet as a gay person, coming out of the closet as transgendered, coming out of the closet as I'm not going to be in that religion anymore, coming out of the closet as a fat person, coming out of the closet as dumb, special, not talented, all the things that have been so shamed over the course of the last 3-4 generations. Because of the narcissism that's promoted. You should be better. You should be better. You got to work on being better. You find these standards, be this, be that, keep on going. All the self-help books around improve who you are, setting goal setting. All that is basically promoting you can't just be yourself. You're a piece of shit, right? So when you come out of the closet as a real person, you're coming out of the closet as a piece of shit in relation to your culture.
Right. And I have a lot of thoughts of like that have been popping up, or even like with my husband, I was like, well, maybe he'll want to leave me for a younger, hotter woman or something.
And you know what? That's what he should do.
That's okay, because
that's what
he's at in life.
You got it. It doesn't should you try to be hotter and younger just to keep him around, when in reality he doesn't care about you, and he's probably going to get someone hotter and younger, and he already has, and he still is, if that's what he really needs to satisfy his life. Again, if you really love him, you would say that's what he should do. Let him figure this out.
And I don't really think, but if it was, I had to still entertain it. I was like, okay, well, that's fine.
Well, if that's one of your fears, right? That's part of what you have to go through.
That's what women fear. So.
Well, women that think that way fear that, right?
Right. That's what they.
Who believe in body image and that stuff. That's what they. Someone that believes that would fear that. Not all women believe or fear that.
Yeah.
Right.
In our neighborhood, or the neighborhood that he had bought a house in, it's a very large house, manicured. All the women have, to keep themselves in good figure.
Oh, so they're following those little 70-60 Barbie dolls? That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Basically.
You know what? Why judge it? They're doing what they think is the right thing to do, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're just assimilating into the culture and living in a blissful state of consciousness. Who the fuck knows?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they may be. So, yeah. So, it's been a lot, but just kind of, it just has been a lot to kind of take in and let go and accept. And
are you feeling better?
I am starting to feel better. So I find I do have a little bit of a sense of humor about the whole thing. So that's always good. Like when you look at the culture, you're like, yuck.
You were gripping onto it like it was your survival. You were gripping so hard it was killing you, even though you thought it was how you would survive, and maybe had survived in the past. It's just not working anymore.
Yeah.
And part of that is that it's so you're unevolving, right? You're probably starting to get the sense of, I need to evolve. And to stay in that space, it means I have to stay in this space, and I'm done with it. I need to evolve.
Yeah. And I actually watched the movie not long before we had started our sessions, Castaway.
Yeah, that's so good.
Movie. And there's this one line when he's like about to go out to sea, and he's like, "You can't turn your back on time." And he says it with like this kind of crazy look in his eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the way I felt. It's like this is the time. Like I can't not do it because this is what's next for me. just get it over with, keep going kind of thing. But
I think it's important for you to forgive where you've been and to recognize that you and your husband and your stepson and your children and everybody has done the best they could with what they're aware of. And you know what? Maybe you're ready to move on into a space you're not even aware of yet. Because you know what you've done, it's not working anymore. And you don't have to judge it. You don't have to be a victim of it. This is really important because it's so easy to maintain the position of victim. I know I keep on going to this story with me in religion, but it's so parallel to this. It's such an important, it's so real for what you're going through. I didn't feel like I was a victim of that religion. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel I was done wrong because I realized getting the out-of-body experience, it gave me this awareness that this was so loving. Holy shit. Everything that I was doing, my parents were doing, all of the shame that went into sex was actually something no one was aware would happen until I was aware it was happening. I was the one that had to realize this was how it was impacting me. My parents didn't intend that. I'm not a victim. I just need to honor the truth of this awareness now and be okay that there may not be aware or they may be okay in that space. I don't have to be angry. I can just recognize it doesn't serve me anymore. And if it's still serving them, they should stay in it.
Yeah.
Makes sense? Like that. So for example, let's use homeschooling. It might serve that friend of yours. It's serving her. She's clutching onto it with her identity, with her sense of being a good mother. Is there anything wrong with that?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
She should continue to do that, especially if she has deep-seated inadequacies as a mother that probably stem from her shaming her own mom. She probably should keep on working at not being her mom and trying to do it in a way that is so beyond reality that she'll figure it out at some point. Let her have it. Everything she's doing is perfect. It is all perfect. It is all perfect.
And I do feel like I like how you talk about getting to your breaking point. Like whatever got you there was a blessing.
You needed
you actually got there.
Well,
that's where you needed to get to. So
because
it's
yeah, it wasn't serving you. It's not serving you. And because you hold the idea as superior, right? The concept is held as this is the right thing to do. And your reality, you keep on trying, you keep on trying, you keep on trying, and you keep on getting hurt. And every time you get hurt and burned and binge eating, and every time you end up hiding in a closet and shoving cookies in your face, and every time you end up going back to the diet industry and paying more money and sacrificing all of that, all this, get you to the point to realize maybe I shouldn't be holding this here. I should probably let it go because the misery I keep on running into because I'm not willing to look at this belief. Eventually, you're going to suffer so much that you have to question, why am I doing this? What is the point? What do I get out of this? Well, I get this and that. Well, if you don't want to suffer anymore, you better let go of what you get out of that. Right? So when it comes to thinness and all of the suffering, it really requires of everybody who's in it. It's a degree of suffering, like a volume of suffering. The more someone does it, the volume keeps on turning up, turning up, turning up, turning up. Eventually you have to question, is this worth what I think I'm going to get? Because if it is, I have to keep on doing it. I can't stop. And so the only way to stop is to let go of what you want out of it, which for you was, I don't want to get divorced. I want to stay married. I want to, the attachment to your husband's attraction to you. I can't handle it. I can't handle being alone. I can't handle the idea of failure. I can't handle. So when you let go of thinness, you have to let go. For some people, it's let go of the idea of getting married, having children. They have to let that go because they literally believe they have to be thin to find a mate to have a baby, right? That's intense.
Yeah.
That is intense.
That is.
Right?
So ashamed. Yeah.
So you can see why they would suffer to such a degree. Like, this is a lot of suffering if that's what they think, right?
Yeah.
They don't realize that not everybody believes in thin supremacy. But they do.
Yeah.
They do. So they hold themselves to it. So.
And getting used by somebody for just your looks is awful. It's really terrible.
It feels like,
and especially if you find like someone high ranking who they will drop you so quick.
Oh, because they're not into you. They're into the what you do for them, right? They're into what you serve and their needs, right? So it's not about you. And they can always find another servant.
Right. Yeah. I definitely had a relationship that turned out, it actually didn't mean to start as a relationship, but it was a huge point in my life that I didn't realize that I was being primed almost for like somebody, the CEO of like a law firm I worked for. I was the executive assistant, and it was just a relationship that develops over time. You're making sure this person's laundry is getting picked up, whatever. But I was sort of getting primed for the moment when he was going to go in for the kill. And then what was I going to do? Because I'm like, my whole life is wrapped up in this person.
And your job and your income.
My job, my income. And I actually do love this person. I've, helped take care of him or whatever. And, my family, my dad found out about it. And that was really what the whole disowning thing kind of came from that whole situation.
Yeah.
But I was unaware at the time that I was getting used. Because I was like in my very early 20s.
Well, you believed everything this person was probably telling you. You had
they were taking me to fancy dinners, but I was just having a good time. I didn't.
Well, and you were good.
There was a lot of strings attached to that. So.
Okay, so is that worthy of shame?
No, because I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. But now that I look back, I know what's going on. But
you didn't know at the time. So, did you hold any shame from that, embarrassment or shame, or beliefs that I must be a terrible person? Sure. Okay, so where would those beliefs come from then?
My dad.
Pause. Hold on. It's not your dad. It's a belief that you should have known better.
Oh, right.
Okay,
yeah. No, I realized that I could never have known
you can't.
better. Given the way that I was raised, I would have never known better. And I also, another big point that I came across was, and not that I would anyway change, I'm very happy I am where I am. I've learned the lessons that I've learned. But if I was in another life and doing things over again, I would think about having a baby only when I was ready and I had the circumstance set up for receiving a child in the right way. And other than, so that's something that I think if I did have a do-over,
you would honor that.
I would have done something different, but at the time, I would never have known to make different choices than I made.
No, and you now are aware of that because you've had that trial and error, which is what life's about. So this is where you just have to know you're currently living in that state of mind still. So you are still unaware of things that you will be aware of later. So does it serve you to hold yourself to ideas of that? Just concepts? Does it really serve you?
No,
so
not at all.
Don't you agree then, knowing that you're unaware when you're making these decisions, you don't really understand. You think this is the right thing to do, and you do it, and then you don't realize at the time I wasn't really holding on to what was true in my heart. I was trying to get this. You don't know that there's something going on. So what I've done, knowing that I am currently ignorant, I'm currently naive in relation to what I don't know yet, right? It's all relative. I live with grace now. I don't give it to myself later. You see how I can even admit I'm ignorant. I can admit I'm naive right now because I give myself grace today. I'm not going to perform better than that. Period. There's no self-help book out there that I'm going to read that is going to make me better than I am today. It might be a concept of what's better than I am today, but what is it going to do to my own discernment about life, Everything I've done does that make sense?
Yeah, because I think it's about really increasing perception. Like the whole idea of awareness is to be able to perceive and read, let's say, your outside environment and the truth about what's going on, and
what you think,
which time.
Which is what you think. Right? You think you know what's going on. That concept of what is true is all a thought. Because you could argue everything is true at all times. Even you having that baby and believing it was the right thing to do was true.
Yes.
That was true. Relative to that viewpoint, it was true. Relative to this viewpoint, I was a bad person. That's true. Relative to that person's review about my book, they're right.
You're right. Yeah.
You're right. Exactly. And to be okay with that is the key. This is where the conversation about you got to be okay being a piece of shit, because that piece of shit is relative to some context. That is true. So we don't try to negotiate with you suck. Just go into accepting, well, relative to some context out there, I'm a horrible person. I'm horrible because I'm American. I'm horrible because I live in the wrong state. I was raised in the wrong area of the country. I'm not the right color. I'm wrong because I have body fat. I'm wrong because I'm a woman. I don't have enough education. Think of all the suckiness. That is true.
Yeah, just because people don't give themselves the grace.
Correct. Now you got it. I was like, the reason you suck is if you don't give yourself grace around the reality of that relativity. Relative to where I will be in 10 years, if I make it 10 more years, I suck today. I go back and watch some of my YouTube videos from 7 years ago, and I'm like, damn, I didn't quite understand that very well. And I'm okay with that. That's why I haven't taken them off. Make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So there's so much grace.
That. Yeah, I like that, especially as I think about redefining myself as a mother and all the real issues. Obviously, we have a family with codependency.
You need to give it all grace.
Stuff that has to be. Wait, what's that?
You need to give it all grace. If you get grace to be okay with where you're at, what happens to what you give to everybody else?
Right.
I think this is really fascinating too when you look at how you are as a mother. If you have some idea of who you should be as a mother and you are trying to hold yourself to it, do you know where that pressure pressure projects onto?
Right, it's on the kids.
On your children. So now they're performing for your idea of what's right so that you feel good about yourself, which is taking them on as slaves, as if it's their job to perform.
Oh, you're breaking up.
I said it's as if it's their job to perform for you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how I grew up.
Well, yeah, that's how I grew up, and that's how everybody who's listening to this grew up.
Right.
And I am inherently don't even know it, but I'm doing it to my own kids because all I'm doing is the best I know, based about being a mother, based on my own experience with my mom, with my in-laws, with other people. I don't have the perfect idea of what Chloe needs, what Susie needs, what Wyatt needs. Those are my kids. What do they need? They are the only ones that are aware of that. I'm not aware. I can just assume I can say, well, I understand the culture I'm raising them in. I can try to get them to assimilate, but what do they really need? They're the only ones who are actually experiencing their experience and their vulnerabilities. I don't know what those are. This was another thing that I actually became very clearly aware of in that out-of-body experience, is that my mother has only been able to fulfill for me what she's aware of within herself.
Okay.
Do you want me to? I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
My mother was only capable of fulfilling for me what she believed needed fulfilling for herself. And all the points at which I needed fulfillment, I relied on her to fulfill, and she didn't. Why? Because she can't. She's not within my own awareness. She's not in my space of consciousness. She's not in my she's not witnessing what I'm witnessing in this present moment. So if I am relying on her, relying on friends, relying on food, relying on the body to fulfill those things, I'm not taking responsibility for my own soul. I'm not taking responsibility for my own awareness. I am relying on others to do it for me, or a body to do it for me. And a body can't do that. A body is not actually aware. It's just exists. It has its own language. It has its own purpose. It's to keep you alive, period. That's it, right? Yeah, so that was a huge thing for me. That was like a big, huge light bulb around I am the only one that can secure myself. Food can't do it. Thinness can't do it. Fitness can't do it. Mark, my husband, can't do it. My mother can't do it. It is my job to honor those feelings and to go into what will secure them within my heart. And that means I am a completely autonomous, totally independent, free. I have my free agency as a soul. That's the only way to actually be free, is to be the one that secures yourself. I need to record that. I need to go back and read. That's such an important point. Some of these things I have not.
It is, yeah. And actually, I rewound it several times because you mentioned it last time too, and
See, I don't even remember.
The whole concept of just life, like life goes on. Life is beyond the kids, beyond all the roles and everything that.
Right. Well, and your children need to be honored as individuals that are not yours. Exactly. Your children are not yours. They're their own.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I promised myself I would do different than was done for me. Like, I was like going to make sure that I didn't pass that on. And I know I still need to work on that because it hasn't even come up all the way yet. But
well, if you don't know what that is, how do you do that? If you don't know how to do that, your way of thinking about it might be, who knows? I don't know what I'm doing other than giving my children the space and freedom to mess up. Figure it out. I'm always here for you. I'm not judging you. If you get put in jail, I'll come visit you every day. I'm not going to, I've said this to all of, I'm not going to come get you. You probably deserve to be there. But I'll come visit every day. Every day. Because I love who you are. I love you as a person. I might not love what you're doing, but I can assume and give you the grace that you're doing what you need to do to figure your shit out. So figure it out, and I'll be there for you emotionally and lovingly, but not codependently. I'm not going to rescue you. I'm not your rescuer.
Right.
That's hard.
Yeah. My mom definitely was a rescuer.
Oh, that's sweet. See, that's her way of loving, right? That's her way of loving you, protecting you from what she doesn't think she could handle. See that? That's sweet. Not realizing it's kind of enabling.
Yeah. And it sucks.
Right? Because now there's strings attached. Crap. I got to do what she says. I got to be who she wants me to be.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I just find right now I'm kind of interested in redefining what my expectations as a mom are, or what, just kind of moving forward, I do feel like I've kind of come out of the dark, and I'm like, okay, so this is new. What's next? I don't really know. I just take it as it comes.
Well, and that's kind of what you have to do.
Not expect. You just wait till something happens, which it will.
Isn't that the truth? And then in the moment, you deal with it as it arises, because you don't necessarily understand all of the kind of the intricacies of the web that you've weaved. Right? How many layers of belief patterns and systems have you actually developed around you? And then the way that I remember going about it was, as things arise, I will dismantle it at that point. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just, right? Because it's going to arise and it'll come across as fear. I'm going to feel insecure. I'm going to feel afraid of someone's opinion. And I have to just be willing to go, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't volunteer for this anymore. because you're the only one that's aware of how it's impacting you. Doesn't mean that you're saying they suck, they're bad people. You don't have to demonize or blame. You can just say it doesn't work anymore. And be okay that they're going to have to find someone else. It's not your problem. Right? So for me, as I came into this space, I was given a full ride scholarship at the University of Massachusetts, and these coaches were like, don't mess this up. We've been told that if we give this to you, because they knew I had an eating disorder and they knew there was something wrong, but they gave me a scholarship anyways. And they were told, this is a risk. Don't give her a scholarship. And they gave me a scholarship. Well, guess what happened within 4 months? I was prepared to commit suicide. I came out of this and realized this isn't serving me. I can't stay here. I need to go back. And I had to willfully put them in a place of failure. But I realized it is not my responsibility to care for their fear of proving someone right. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And people will think I'm getting divorced, and that's okay. I'm okay if someone thinks that my marriage is failing, because they all told me, because I eloped, you're going to be divorced within a year or two. It's okay that they think that. And it might happen. And, you see how it takes so much humility to just honor that soul that is from within, that is fulfilling yourself. No one can fulfill that for you. It's not your responsibility to fulfill that for someone else. It is their job. And if they think it's your job to protect them from their insecurities, now we got some toxic issues. Someone's going to have to do drugs, right? And your drug is trying to be thin. You can just look at it and go, oh, I'm compromising myself and I'm doing all of this as self-defense. Self-defense. I shouldn't have to defend myself. I shouldn't have to do this and compromise what feels wrong inside. And whether it's wrong or right doesn't really matter, but in my heart and in my soul, I don't feel good about it. Anyways.
Now, does the whole drama triangle, because I definitely see myself in the rescuer, but do they all rotate, I assume?
Totally. Like when you say rescuer, anytime someone says I'm the rescuer and I'm like, oh, you're rescuing, you're actually a co-victim. Poor them. Oh, they're victims. So you're projecting your sense of personal victimhood onto someone else, but you have a little bit more confidence to say, and I'm smart enough and better enough that I can fix you. Right?
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah. And it's funny.
And you take responsibility, right? So here I am speaking to you thinking, okay, I have this guidance. I can help her. I'm not doing it for you. Right?
And it's funny because the persecutor in this case was a child, and they're like, he's just a kid. It's like, I know.
Yeah, but the persecutor is also a victim.
Right.
Because that's how they justify what they're doing. They're self-defending. They're defending themselves, right? So, okay, go back to those volleyball coaches. I was persecuting them by leaving.
Right.
Yeah. Even though to me it was like, I just have to take care of I cannot afford to be a bitch or someone's slave again. I cannot be someone's slave, bitch. Cannot do it. Right. Can't be my mom's. I can't, because I will kill myself.
Yeah.
I will never do it again. And that was almost like a contract I made with God. In the moment I got freedom, it was like, I will never lie about my soul again. I will never compromise what that is for someone else, for something I get out of it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I really like
it's just been the best thing ever because I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it actually inherently keeps you from these toxic relationships, because someone will come to you with a sob story and you're going to go, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You don't go, oh, that's terrible, like they're a victim, saying, you do suck. You can't handle that. It's horrible. They did it to you. You won't do that. Some people come to me and pay me. They want me to do that. I won't do it. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like little victim-y there. Wee, bee, 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 there's my little violin.
Daddy wasn't there.
My mom was a bad person. No, and it's always their parents. And they wonder why they are holding themselves to such grandiose standards because they're trying to prove themselves better than their own family. Narcissism.
Right.
You've gotta open yourself up to reality, and that's hard to do. It takes a lot of humility. It takes the willingness to admit failure, right? Instead of blaming everybody else for why your life sucks.
Not holding yourself to, like, knowing in the past, well, I didn't know any better, and I did the best that I could, so there we go, guys.
Right, and you know what? It's not, I don't believe it's worthy of shame. I cannot perform better than that. I can't.
Right.
It's impossible.
You don't know any better.
You got it. Until you know better. Exactly. Until you know better and you go, oh, that probably wasn't, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but you know what? Now I know. So I know, no, I won't do that. Which gives you so much freedom to go, oh, I no longer have this lack of discernment around people like that. I have now gained a radar. Ding, 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 ding. He's using you. You know, I don't have to worry about people like that anymore. I don't have to live in my victimhood. He did that to me. Well, you didn't discern it. You did it to you out of lack of discernment. It's more than one thing. There's two sides to how our brains work. It's not just the environment. It's how you receive the environment. Can you handle it? And at this point, you can handle that. You did handle it. And now you have discernment to say, not worth it. Not worth it. Wasn't worth it. You thought it was worth it. So is it really his fault?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, I got to go. I'm running late.